So the American people are now struggling, or what many experts say, Americans are suffocating with credit card debt. Now I want to break down what's going on because we are now getting more reports, new stats out, how Americans are actually going further and further behind in their credit card debt and trying to pay off this massive amount. Now, I want to break this down in just a moment, but all I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now, let's begin. So what is going on in regards to credit card debt? Well, there's multiple things that are happening as we speak. The first one though, okay, credit card debt is poised to smash another record high. Says household debt likely surged to another new record at the start of 2024. Now, what does this mean? What are we going to see? Well, here's what I can tell you. Right now, Americans are suffering because they cannot pay back their credit card debts. They cannot make this payment. And here's the other issue. For those that are struggling to make the payment, they were being told by the Biden administration, don't worry, if you cannot make your payment, well, we're going to cap late fees at just $8. If you miss a payment, you will be capped at an $8 late fee, not the $30 or $40 like you were seeing before. Well, guess what? On Friday, a federal judge blocked the White House's plan to curb credit card late fees. This federal judge decided, you know what? Nope, you cannot do this. This is going to hurt the banks more than it'll hurt the people, and so they're going to block it. Look at this. So Judge Mark Pittman of the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas on Friday granted an injunction sought by the banking industry and other business interests to freeze the restrictions, which were scheduled to take effect today on May 14th. In his ruling, Pittman cited a 2022 decision by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit that found that funding for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the federal agency set to enforce the credit card rule, is unconstitutional. So, instead of getting a max credit card late fee of potentially $8, now you're going to be hit with $30, $35, maybe $40. So, again, it's a huge problem. I want to read this to you though. This is the ABA CEO Rob Nichols says this injunction will spare banks from having to immediately comply with a rule that clearly exceeds the CFPB's statutory authority and will lead to more late payments, lower credit scores, increased debt, reduced credit access, and higher APRs for all consumers, including the vast majority of card holders who pay on time each month. So what they're saying right there, the majority of card holders pay on time every single month. So they don't have to worry about paying $30 or $40 for a late fee. It's just those that are struggling to keep up with the payment. But like they're saying here, it will lead to more late payments, lower credit scores, increased debt, and reduced credit access. That's what we're going to face. But the reason why I'm bringing this to your attention now is because this is exactly what people have been worried about. We are seeing credit card debt rise. It's going up. Let me show you this one as well. It says the New York Federal Reserve's Bank quarterly report on household debt and credit, slated for release on Tuesday morning, is expected to show that credit card debt hit a new record during the 3-month period from January to March, smashing a previous high of $1.13 trillion. It says credit card balances have never risen from the fourth quarter of one year to the first quarter of the following year. I think there's a good chance we'll see a first of its kind increase in tomorrow's report. Again, that should be today, which would mark a new record for Americans' credit card balances. This is troubling. I wish I could tell you that things were going to be better, but it doesn't look like it. But why is that? Well, number one, high inflation and high interest rates are significantly contributing to Americans' debt loads and making this debt harder to pay off. And in some cases, some Americans are not even attempting to pay off their debt because it's so high, they look at that figure and say, you know what? That's more than I make in a year. I can't pay that. There's no way I can pay, all my credit cards off. I just can't. And this is starting to turn into a bigger issue because at the same time, prices continue to go up. It says high inflation has created several financial pressures for most U.S. households, which are forced to pay more for everyday necessities like food and rent. Grocery prices are up 21% from the start of 2021. Shelter is up 20.4%, and energy costs are up 32.8% as well. So obviously, things are just getting out of hand. This is one of the main reasons why Americans are falling behind on their payments, because at the same time they want to pay these credit card balances, they can't because they have to buy food, they have to keep a roof over their head, and again, all these things keep adding up. And just to give you an idea of how much they're increasing, Americans are paying on average $784 more each month compared with the same time just 2 years ago, and $1,669 more compared to 3 years ago. Now, obviously, that's troubling where we see costs are increasing. But here's the kicker. Here's where things get really out of hand. Look at this. If someone owes $5,000 in debt, which the average American does, based off the current APR levels, that would mean it would take them 279 months and $8,124 in interest just to pay the debt off by making minimum payments. Think about that for a second. That means if you just make the minimum payment, you are absolutely screwed because you are never going to pay off that debt, or at least it feels like that. So if you put a plan in place and say, you know what, in 279 months, I'm going to have all my debt paid off. I'm going to have everything paid off. Most people are never going to start. They're going to be like, 279 months, making the minimum payment, let's say it's $45 a month. They're going to look at that and be like, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let that debt sit. I'm not going to make a payment. They can keep adding the interest to it. They can keep adding late fees. That's fine. I can't pay it off. I just can't afford it. And because of that, it's going to be sent to collection and it will sit there as well. This is why collection agencies at this time, they're a little concerned because they're buying all this debt, but the amount of people able to pay it off or even make a payment to it is actually coming down. So we'll see what happens moving forward. All I can tell you right now is this is one of the reasons why Americans are suffering with credit card debt, and they're suffocating because they can't make the payment. They have no additional money coming in, and they're just trying to stay afloat and keep a roof over their head and food on the table. So we'll see what happens. All I can tell you right now is this is all we know at this time. As soon as I know more, I promise I'll come back on and share all the latest news and updates. But again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.